welcome back. Today we are going to be going through what I read in February. I'm a bit late because it's like the 5th of March. Well, I guess that's not really late, is it? I read 4. I read 6 books in February, which is quite a lot for me. I'm really like getting through books at the moment. So I thought 6 is like a pretty decent amount to do a little what I read in February video. So we are just going to go through them and I can talk a bit about what I liked about them, what I didn't. Most of these books I enjoyed. I think there was 2 that I still enjoyed and I still finished and read them all, but they just weren't my favourite. I'm going to go through like what I read first and like go through it like that, I think. I've also got a mocha. I'm going to be drinking that throughout the video. I've been so obsessed with making mochas recently. My girlfriend really likes them and she made one for me. Because I have them every now and again when I go out, but I've never actually made them at home till recently. My girlfriend made me one and then I was like, this is so easy, why have I not been doing this? So this is what I've got. The first book that I read was Why Be Happy When You Can Be Normal by Jeanette Winterson, and it was amazing. I've read her other book, I mean she's got lots of books, but I've read Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit. I read that last year I believe and I loved it. Her writing is so amazing. Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit is kind of, it's not really a memoir, like it is a story, like it's fiction, but it's based on her life, like, well, her childhood and then like growing up into a teenager. And then this one is actually a memoir about the same time, like it's set at the same time. Maybe, and I think she's a bit older in this one as well, but this is kind of more of like a biography memoir of it. It's so good. I really want to read more of her books this year. She's just, the way she writes is so captivating and you can really just see it from her point of view and understand what she went through, and I just love it. If you are looking for a good memoir to read, I recommend this. I'd say probably read Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit first because she does reference it quite a bit throughout the book. But then at the same time, I don't think it matters if you haven't read it because she kind of goes over some of it in this. Very excited to read more of her books in the future. And I think it's such a nice cover. That's her as a kid. Like, she's very open about her experiences. And something that I really did enjoy is she's so self-aware. Like some of her, I wouldn't say problems, but some of her personality or some of the, I guess, trauma from what she had and how she then, that trauma affects her relationships and her friendship. She's very aware of that and she knows that she has these problems and she's trying to work through them, and yeah, it's just very good. And I just think it's a very reflective book. Even if you can't relate to the actual problem, you can just relate with her perspective and maybe correlate it to something else in your life, and I think that is a really helpful thing when reading. So that was the first book. I think I gave it 5 stars. I'm pretty sure I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads because it's amazing. I think everyone should read this. And like I said, I'm excited to read her other books. And then the next book I read was Orbital. And this won the Booker Prize last year. I've been meaning to read it for a while, I guess. The cover's lovely and I was really intrigued by the blurb and it won the Booker Prize, so I was like, let's go for it. I finally picked it up and I was actually quite, not let down, but I was a bit disappointed. It had so much hype and it won the prize. I'd seen it everywhere, literally in every bookshop I went into they had piles of it. So I had high hopes and they just didn't reach it, which was really a shame. Like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't a bad book at all. The way that Samantha Harvey describes everything is so beautiful and so intricate. That side of it was amazing and I'd love to read her other books to see if that theme continues. but there wasn't really much of a plot. It just kind of felt like it was just dragging along a little bit. Like, although it's quite a short book, I really struggled to get through it. I would recommend it because I think, like I said, the way that she describes space and describes nature and the world and Earth is beautiful. But yeah, the plot and the characters kind of just let it down for me, which was a shame. But it did just kind of feel like I was going round. I think it is kind of the point of the book, because it's about these astronauts that go to space and they're in the space station, and it's about them orbiting the Earth. So it is about that towards a certain extent, but it just got a little bit boring and repetitive. So it wasn't my favourite. I gave it 3 stars, I think. So that was the second book I read, and I was expecting to get through it really quick, but it took me a couple of days just because I couldn't get hooked, which was a shame. And then the next one I read was The Vegetarian by Han Kang. Again, one that's been on my to be read list for months, literally months. I read Greek lessons last year? Yeah, last year I think, and it was amazing. I love her writing, it's so good, and I love the version of this cover. Like, I know the main thing is not about how the cover looks, but I just love this, and it just really makes sense with the plot. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but yeah, this was amazing. I love her. Please read her. But yeah, I'm going to read her other books this year as well, because I think she's got another 2 out that are in paperback, and then one's just come out. I can't remember what it's called. I'm definitely gonna go through her discography of books and read them. I don't really know how I would explain this book. You see throughout the book you get different perspectives from different characters, and it breaks the book up so nicely. I think otherwise it would get a bit repetitive, but the way that the book just flows is so effortless, and I got through it so quick. I didn't want to put it down. It was amazing. I just loved hearing from the different characters. It made the book so much more interesting, and I really loved it. So if you want something that's a little bit strange, a little bit eerie, I'd recommend this. And any of her other books. I mean, like I said, I've only read Greek lessons, but I can only imagine that her other books are amazing as well. So that was the third book. And then the next book I read was A Happy Death by Albert Camus. I found this one in a charity shop and it was actually £1, so I picked it up. I hadn't really heard of this one before, but I know of him. And again, I couldn't get into it. I don't know if that was just me, but I couldn't get hooked. I'm not sure what it was, but I did finish it. But again, it just took me longer than I thought, because it's literally just over 100 pages, and it took me like 3 days to read, which is unusual for me to read a short book in that length of time. There were parts of the book that I really enjoyed, and I think the characters were good, but it just took me a while to kind of get any attachment to them and to feel anything towards them. I don't know if that's because it's more of like a modern classic, so it's an older text, because I often find with older texts it can be a bit more confusing and takes you a while to get into it. Towards the end I did actually really enjoy it. It was just the first half of the book that I did understand it, but I guess the plot, I personally just found the plot harder to follow. But I think I would be definitely open to reading it again, probably after I've read some of his other books, because then maybe I'll get used to his style of writing and just understand it. And once because I've read it once, I think if I went back to read it from the start, I'd understand it more and maybe get attached to it a bit more. So it was good, but I'm excited to read his other books to see if I feel different about it, because I'm definitely going to give him another chance, because obviously he's a very famous, very well liked, very well read. Because I did like his style of writing, it was just the plot. But then I don't know if that was just me struggling to get into it. I imagine it probably was. And then this one I read in the train, it's called Mr. Salary by Sally Rooney. Other than Intermezzo, I think that's how you say it, her newest one, I've now read all of them. I'm just waiting for that to get released in paperback because I hate hardbacks. But I've been looking for this one for a while, and then I was in Chelsea. Oh my god, what is the bookshop called? I've got the bookmark here from it. You can see it. John Sandoe Books. If you're in London or if you're in Chelsea, please go to this bookshop. I literally walked in and fell in love with it. I just happened to walk past it by chance and it's so beautiful. But anyways, I got this from here. It's literally like, it's a short story. I think it's like 80 pages. But like, if I show you, like the text is quite big. So it literally, I think I finished it like, I don't know, 30-40 minutes really, and I was on the train so I didn't have any interruptions. But it was interesting to read a short story by her, and she just, the way that she writes her characters is so relatable and so real. Like even within 80 pages I'm like, yeah, I get you, I relate to you, I feel like we'd be friends, or I feel like I know your personality. She's just, yeah, I love the way that she writes characters so relatable and so real, like you feel like they're real people. So if you're looking for a good little short story to read, then I would recommend this. So easy to read, like in one sitting. So that was a good one. I can't remember how many stars I gave it, maybe 4. Like it wasn't my favourite book ever, but it was just a nice short book to read. So I would recommend that. And then the last book I read, I also got whilst we were in London, but I got it from Daunt Books. It's Swallowing Geography by Deborah Levy. I am a Deborah Levy stan. I love her books. Yeah, she's one of my favourite authors. She's definitely up there at the top. Really good. Just if you haven't read any of Deborah Levy books, I really recommend. I just love her. I love her writing, I love how she writes the characters and just everything. She's amazing. Read the blurb on the back. Like her namesake, Jack Kerouac, JK is always on the road, travelling Europe with a typewriter and a pillowcase. From JK's irreverent, ironic perspective, Levy charts a new, dizzying, end-of-the-century world of shifting boundaries and displaced people. And that is it. It's Europe, it's about love, it's about loss, there's grief, travel, understanding yourself. It's got a bit of everything, and she covers so many like topics within like, I don't know, 80-100 pages. Yeah, 80 pages. It's just amazing, and it makes me want to travel around Europe with a typewriter in my pillowcase as well. Who knows, maybe I will. Yeah, that was the last book I read in February and it was amazing. My 3 favourites were Why Be Happy When You Can Be Sad, The Vegetarian and Swallowing Geography. They were my top 3. The other 3 were really good as well, but they just weren't up there with my favourites. And I'm going to put my Goodreads in the description below, because I think I didn't do it for all of them, but I've started to try and write reviews for every book, because sometimes when I read a book, as soon as I finished it, like a week later I literally would have forgotten what happened in it. Even though I loved it, I'd have to look at the book and read the blurb to be like, oh yeah, I know what happened. So I thought if I start writing reviews, hopefully it will help me remember and I can look back. And it's also fun, like I love writing little reviews and being able to write down in a few words what I thought about a book. So if you want to follow me on there, I will put it in the description below. I need to start following more people as well. Like I don't really use Goodreads that much, but I want to get into it more. Or if you have any other recommendations other than Goodreads, because I know it's not the best. But I think there's one called Storygraph, which I need to look at. So if you recommend that, please let me know. They're all the books that I read in February. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've read any of them or any books that you recommend. And thank you for watching as always. Bye bye.